Guys, I gotta be really real with you. With it being 2 years since I started watching this show, even though that I haven't catched on with it due to depression and of course Warner Bros. Discovery situation, I really felt like that this episode alone was honestly a last minute decision considering that I was originally going to review The Babysitter that centered around Xochi. And since I've decided to use this method of reviewing an episode that I didn't watch in order and mainly jump to the episode right away, like every other show, there are so many possibilities that can explore the characters and elements. But considering that this show got the axe, it really made me feel like that the people behind Cartoon Network can't be able to continue on due to the executives of Warner Bros. Discovery. Granted, the axe that this show got isn't nearly as bad as Infinity Train, but at the same time, it doesn't deserve the axe no matter what. Xochi's garden begins with Xochi being in charge of the store while his father is away, but once he leaves, she gets a 2-hour shift in order to go to the employees' room, which leads to Victor and Valentino arriving. When they go inside the employees' room, they saw vines from the wall, and when Victor tries to move the vines, it moved on their own with magic, which leads to him and Valentino to the garden that Xochi created for herself. And when they see Xochi, she was dancing with her plant powers, which leads to Valentino taking a picture, which caught him and Victor red-handed from Xochi. This causes Xochi to be enraged and tells them her backstory about her plant powers. This episode alone, with it being a last-minute decision in favor of The Babysitter, it really made me feel like that this show was really doing a lot more for its own identity, even though that my statement of it being somewhat interesting over Craig of the Creek really didn't age well. I'm gonna be really real with you guys, when it came to me giving up on this show, other than the statements that I've expressed early on in this video, it's honestly difficult to see the positives from this show after realizing that this show ended on a cliffhanger. And after watching this episode, it really made me feel like that there was so much potential that is not going to be explored. Honestly, I'm fully aware that this show isn't the best Cartoon Network show, but at the very least, though this still qualifies as variety when it comes to Cartoon Network doing the original shows. And considering that this ended up becoming the final original cartoon, with Quake of the Creek being the only original cartoon, which was airing new episodes after the final episode of this show, I really felt like that this really speaks so much Warner Bros. Discovery all over it. Honestly, knowing full well that even if a show isn't popular, at the very least, it still deserves a conclusion. And the fact that it had 3 seasons, like if a show like this had 3 seasons, then there was still a fan base regardless. And when it comes to this episode in particular, it really feels like that it's going to explore the characters like Xochi. Like, the episodes that I've seen centering around Xochi was mainly my episode reviews for LGBT month back in 2022, and when it comes to this episode, it came out after LGBT month. Her backstory centering around her plant powers is really depressing. She can't be able to have any friends due to the majority of the citizens calling her weird and different. And to tell you the truth, knowing full well that it was difficult for her to fit in, unlike Victor and Valentino, believe me, there's so much potential when it comes to these elements. And considering that Xochi doesn't get a lot of screen time in comparison to the other characters, I don't even need to watch the final episode to realize that ending the show on a cliffhanger is really suspicious, even though that I'm fully aware of the Warner Bros. Discovery situation. When it comes to her powers that she can't be able to control and she uses her garden as a sanctuary, believe me when I say this, it made me feel more sympathy towards her in comparison to Squidward, considering that she has anger issues, well, not really anger issues, but her anger issues are really justified. And even though that Squidward's anger issues are justified, at the same time, it's just too much for me, and there are multiple reasons onto why I don't feel sympathy towards Squidward. To tell you the truth, whenever I think about Xochi in this show, it really feels like that they were going to capitalize on her plant powers, but considering that this is one of the final episodes of the show, I'm not even gonna have high hopes when it comes to her appearance in the final episode, because she does appear after I looked it up, and with her not being the main character, she would still help out the other characters, but I don't think that she would use her powers to help out, because if she did, then I'm pretty sure that it would probably make my expressions on the whole situation or the episode worse, considering that we're never going to see a continuation of having her powers. Believe me when I say this, is that when these elements are unresolved, it gives me less of a purpose of watching more of the show. Now, this isn't entirely the show's fault, we can all agree on that. But at the same time, with these decisions, it just takes me back to my experiences with Infinity Train, where it ended off with only half of Infinity Train itself, with only the other half not happening whatsoever. This is just really gives me so much of a difficult time to find any positivity from this show, and even though that the episodes are good, it doesn't change the fact that Warner Bros. Discovery is the reason onto why I can't be able to enjoy the episodes for my binge watching experience. Like back then, I watched shows really fast. Steven Universe, We Bear Bears, and The Loud House, but now it's really slow, and there's a reason for that. In all honesty, when I remembered my times watching Quick of the Creek in this show when it came to the 4 seasons, I've watched them really quickly. And even though that Victor and Valentino, I only watched 1 season of episode towards episode, it was not even worth it to continue on, considering of how the background of the show is what's really affecting the show itself. Which really shows that Xochi's garden is really her way of escapism in order to cope with her problems. Like, this kiss that she wanted to do when it came to that character from Band for Life, believe me when I say this, for how it didn't feel like an actual kiss because it was awkwardly animated, really shows that she can't be able to have any of that in the real world, and she needs to make the best out of it in her sanctuary. Granted, it was unintentional, but judging of how that, with this being one of the final episodes, believe me when I say this, when it came to dark secrets, this isn't really a dark secret, and judging of how that Xochi is trying to cope with her problems, believe me, everyone can instantly relate to Xochi for the position that she's in. Granted, we will never have powers in the real world when it comes to plant powers, but at the same time, she can't be able to move forward when it comes to her own happiness. Honestly, when Xochi wants Victor and Valentino to heal their deepest, darkest secrets, to tell you the truth, it really shows that she's in the position where she really wants to be, understood. And judging the context of this scene, it's supposed to be humorous when it comes to having deepest, darkest secrets that are really embarrassing. But as far as I'm concerned, judging of how that Xochi isn't the type of person like Victor and Valentino, her exposing her secret towards everyone would probably be a risk that would be a lot more wholesome, but also really memorable. And what I mean by that is the fact that if people actually accept her when it comes to her powers, considering that there are different people in comparison to the people at her age during her flashback, then as far as I'm concerned, there is that possibility that would instantly capitalize her character, because I know full well that she isn't going to keep her secret forever. if this show continued, which it didn't. To be perfectly real with you, this episode was honestly a better choice over the babysitter, but at the same time, this reveal was difficult to put together considering of how I keep thinking about Warner Bros. Discovery every single time whenever I watch a show that was cancelled because of it. This show is gonna be difficult for me to get back to, especially making reviews of it once in a while, but that's just basically how I feel. Granted, I didn't remember what I witnessed when it comes to the episodes that I saw, but as far as I'm concerned, my brain isn't a huge library. As far as I'm concerned, people still need to research again in order to remember what they did the first time. I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10.